Actually 5:49. I'm a little bit late, but that's because I was peeling my garlic for our little bit of food that we're going to do later on in this Facebook Live. So today we are at day 4, and we're going to talk about cues, habits and cues, day 4. So when you think about you're 60 years old and you have 60 years of habit, hi. So you have 60 years of habits and cues that have gotten you to where you are today. So today, again, day 4, we're talking about cues, habits and cues. So I'm Pat Beaupre, and I am here to help you by teaching you tools and strategies and tips of how to stick with your weight loss plan. Because how many times you have started a diet, you have created a goal, you wanted to reach a particular number, you wanted to lose a bunch of weight, and then you start the plan and then you give up right before you have achieved your goal. Or you achieve your goal and then you go back and you gain the weight all over again. So what I want to do is we're going to talk today about cues, and this is really exciting. I really love this. So if you are a yo-yo dieter, you are in the right place, okay? And what I want to tell you is that we know that habit is formed by repeating the same thing over and over and over again until it becomes automatic. And we know that it's just really done through through regular repetition, okay? And as I said before, 60 years old, I'm 64, there was a lot of repetition, a lot of cues and habits that I had taking me to the place when I finally had to learn new habits and new cues, when I learned that my brain is plastic. It didn't matter how old I was, but I could change my brain. So we know that at any age, the process of changing a habit is the same. Whether you're a 12-year-old, whether you're a 16-year-old, 20, 40, 50, whatever. If you want to create a habit, you have to understand the cues that are the start of your habit. So each habit, and this was done by a scientist called Charles Duhigg. And so what he did was he looked at every habit is like a loop, right? So what you do is you have a cue, you have a routine, and then you have a reward. So an example would be, let's say you get home from work, you start dinner, and then you have a snack, and that is your reward. Now, maybe that's a handful of nuts, whatever it is, but imagine that it's not exactly what you plan to do. But for some reason, every time you come home, you don't want to have that snack. You're really not that hungry, right? Because food is just about 15, 20 minutes away. But you have this habit of coming home and eating a snack. So what we want to do is we want to identify what the cue is, we want to modify it, and we want to look at the reward. Because the question is, sometimes if we want to know what is the reward that you're trying to reach. Are you hungry? Is that why you're grabbing for that snack? Did you have a rough day at work and that's why you feel like that snack is a treat? Or is there something on the back of your mind that you don't want to deal with and that snack becomes something that is a distraction for you? So we're going to break it all down. So I want us to consider taking a longer view on a habit. So for instance, what they say is you come home, you go to the pantry, you coming home is the cue, you go to the pantry, that's the behavior, and then you eat the snack, and that's the reward. What I want to do is I want to take the longer view. So I want to assume that the cues for this habit, maybe they started at work. Right? So maybe they started when you had a very uncomfortable conversation with your boss or with a coworker. Or maybe it started, you were taking your lunch out to have your lunch and you thought, oh, this isn't exciting. I'm not really excited about this lunch. Maybe it started on your way home when you were like, I'm so tired. I don't feel like cooking. And then in the back of your mind, maybe the thought came in, ooh, maybe I'll have a treat. And then after that, as you were thinking about that treat, you got a little bit more excited. And so by the time you got home, you were thinking about that treat. You open the door, you go to the pantry, you get your reward. Now, unfortunately, for many of us, that's followed by negative consequences, right? So we have that treat, but then we feel disappointed, we've broken our plan, and now we have to start all over again in our minds. So the thing that is exciting to me about this is they discovered by studying the brains of addicts, right? They took a heroin addict and they were watching the brain. And so what would happen is when the heroin addict was wanted to have some more drugs, right? So they were having withdrawals, they wanted to have drugs. So as soon as they thought about the process of getting money, of how they were going to get their drugs, they received a little hit of dopamine, right? So that dopamine is the reward center. And then what happened is as they got the money, a little bit more dopamine. And then as they got in the car to drive to score the drugs, a little bit more dopamine. When they looked and they saw the corner of where they were going to score their drugs, a little more dopamine. When they saw the person hand them the drugs, a little more dopamine. And then what happens is they take the drugs, huge dopamine. And then after that, it starts all over again. So I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, so when you are at work and you're having a rough day, that is really the start of your habit. That is the start of your cue. So the first cue is, we have 50 to 70,000 thoughts every day in our brain. And how many of those thoughts are really serving us? So what if you realize that the loop or the habit started, let's say, at that conversation with your coworker, and then you realize that what happened after that, you really weren't so excited about your lunch, and maybe that caused a little lack of dopamine. And then what happens is you start thinking, I want to get a treat, I'm going to have a treat, and then you get that little dopamine, and then you decide what the treat is going to be. And this is all in your brain, right? You're just thinking about it. You haven't done anything yet. But each time you have that thought, you get a little hit of dopamine. So now the habit is actually getting rewarded, even though you haven't done any of the behaviors yet. So the brilliant thing about all of this science that we know about the brain is that now we can manipulate that knowledge and use it to our advantage. So what I want to do is I want us to consider that we will now create a protocol. So we use protocols for meal plans, we use protocols for various difficulties, and really what a protocol is really just a plan. And one of the wonderful things about scientists is they have already said that if you want to break the cycle of a habit, you want to create a plan. Like that's scientifically proven to help you with breaking a habit. So we want to create a protocol for your habit. So let's say your habit that you want to change is you come home and you have a snack while you're cooking dinner. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to create a protocol that starts 4 hours prior to the time when you actually come home, when you actually eat that snack while you're preparing your dinner. So maybe 4 hours before, and then you want to think about maybe every hour on the hour, what is going on in your mind to feed that cue or to change it into a new cue. Now, the other thing that they have discovered in studying how people decide or people have habits is they have 5 things that are important to a cue. And so that is the location, so where you are. Sometimes just being in a place, being in your kitchen could be a cue. Sometimes like driving past a store could be a cue. So location is a big important factor in setting up a cue. And the second thing is time of day. How many of my clients actually have their eating patterns where they just can't seem to stop eating at a particular time of the evening? It's very common that people can't stop eating at night. So knowing what the time is a very important cue. As a matter of fact, I was talking to a client today, and she was sharing that, at 8 o'clock her cat has a snack, and every night at 8 o'clock the cat shows up. Well, at 9 o'clock she has a snack, and at 9 o'clock every night she shows up looking for a snack. And so knowing that is really powerful information, because we're working on creating a protocol for her that starts at 7 o'clock so that by the time 9 o'clock comes around, she's not unconsciously receiving all these hits of dopamine that are going to get her to more her brain to really want and think that snack is important, because it's already built up all this little rewards about that snack. So the other thing is emotion. So how are you feeling at the particular time when you have that desire? Are you feeling happy? Are you bored? Are you scared? Are you excited? Whatever it is, whatever that emotion is, that emotion that's tied to the location and the time is a really important part of the cue that leads to a habit. And then the other thing is the environment. So is it warm? Is it cold? Like, where are you in that space? And then the other thing is the activity. So what are you actually doing? Are you taking a walk? Are you talking to someone you don't really care for? Do you have to make a phone call every day at a certain time? So what you want to do is, I'm suggesting that the first thing we do is try to identify the cues that we have and the habits that we have. By every 4 hours prior to the time you generally act out on your habit, right? I want you to, every hour prior to that, so the 4 hours before, you're going to write down, where are you? What time is it? What is your emotional state? What's going on around you? What is the actions or the activities you're doing? And also, of course, always your thoughts. What are the things that you're thinking about? If you're thinking, I don't really feel like cooking that dinner, I don't want the chicken that I prepared, all of those thoughts are going to influence your behavior 4 hours later as you get closer to your environment, which is going to be the stronger cue that you generally have based on your previous actions in following your cues to the habit. So then once you identify, you identify in that time what your cues are, what is your emotional state, and then you want to create a new plan. And this is where we contact our prefrontal cortex, the CFO of, not the CFO, well, hopefully the CFO too, the CEO of our life. And that CEO is going to help us plan and then execute on this plan. So we want to think about, what I like to do is maybe come up with 10 things. So one of the things you also want to do is you want to look at, what is the behavior? What is the reward that you're going for? So if you have that snack, I think we just mentioned this. So if you're having a snack, is it because you're hungry? Maybe you need to have, your lunch isn't enough. Maybe you're not having enough food, or maybe you want to have, instead of having that snack, maybe you want to have a piece of protein, right? Is it because you are stressed out and you want to de-stress, and so you're used to having a snack just to kind of de-stress? Or maybe there's something going on in your family, there's a problem going on and you really don't want to think about it, and so you're trying to distract yourself with that stress. So what is the reward that you're going after? It could just be boredom, especially if it's a daily activity at a certain particular time of day. It could be consistently that you're just bored, or maybe you're looking to food to have some fun instead of thinking about other things that you can do for fun. So once you come up with that, what is the reward you're looking for? And let's say it is to de-stress. So then you want to come up with 10 things that you can do to distress yourself, to kind of cool out from the day. Maybe you just want to take some deep breaths. You want to go for a walk. Maybe you want to just sit in the garden. Maybe you want to meditate. Maybe you want to read a little bit. So come up with at least 10 things, no matter what that reward is, that you can offer your brain as an alternate. And then what happens is, as you go through those 4 hours, you start to replace those cues that you already had, and you start to think more about what you want to think about. Perhaps you want to think about what it's going to be like when you go to bed, totally spent from the day, not having had broken your plan. Feeling good, waking up in the morning. You want to think about waking up in the morning and feeling good in your body. You want to feel like you can really walk around, or maybe go for a walk. You want to feel lighter. So you want to really think, again, we think about the long term. It's just like when I talk about weight loss with my clients, we have a goal weight, yes, that we want to achieve, but we want to think, what is sustainable? What's going to help us in the long term, as opposed to, we get to our goal and then we think everything's going to change, and what happens is we end up going back to eating in a way that doesn't serve us, and we gain all our weight back, and then we're right back where we want. So the work that I do is to really be sustained. I want my clients to lose weight for the last time, and I want them to be successful at their weight loss, so that they can feel their own value at kind of keeping their own word and being successful in something that they have struggled with their entire life. So we know, because of neuroscience, we have information and knowledge that is really we can use to our benefit. And that information is, you can change your brain, you can change a habit, you just need a methodology and you need a process, which is how I help my clients. So now day one, we talked about we created a plan, and day two, we talked about the big why. What is your why? And then day three, we talked about creating habits, daily routines that include our food. And today we're talking about cues, really going the deep dive on your habits. So if you have trouble, you're trying to stick to your plan, but you're having trouble at a particular time of day or a particular incident, then you make a protocol for it. You make a plan for how you're going to deal with it. So that is my little talk. And now what I want to do is I'm going to do some roasted vegetables. And I wanted to just share how easy it is to cook roasted vegetables. One of the things I like to share is that I'm not really a cook, but I do cook because I have to eat 3 meals a day is what I eat. So you're always asking for help. What should I eat? What kind of vegetables should I make? So today I want to do something really simple, and it is just roasted vegetables. And really exciting because I'm in Northern California and it just started to rain. We are like so in need of rain because of the fires and because of the smoke. So rain is we're so happy to get the rain. So right now it's really looking a little dark and windy out there, but it's fantastic because we have rain. So it's actually a good time of year to be thinking about these roasted vegetables because I have a lot of root vegetables. So what I do is I have my onions, okay, of which I don't like to chop onions because my eyes are so sensitive. So I'm going to just show you how easy it is. I have my pan here, which I think you can see, okay, and you're just going to see, maybe I'll just hold it up like that. Okay, so I'm just going to take my onions, I'm going to put in some onions, okay, and my sweet husband has already cut up for me some sweet potatoes. So I have sweet potatoes. I'm just going to pour them in there. I love this. This is just like bulk cooking. So what I'll do is I'm going to have these vegetables and I'll be able to use them for my lunch and my dinner throughout the week, and obviously through the weekend. So then I also have all these vegetables that I chopped up. So I'm going to just show you what I have here. I wash my hands, so my hands are clean. So I have cauliflower, so I'm just going to throw in the cauliflower right here. And then I want to show you that I have some carrots, just some chopped carrots. And then I have this beautiful purple cauliflower, which if you started the week out with me, you saw that beautiful purple cauliflower. And also some celery. I've cut up some celery. So I'm just going to take this bowl. Oh my goodness, I'm going to pour it in here. This is so funny. And then what I did was I actually took my garlic peeler and I peeled a bunch of garlic already. So if you can see that, I'm just going to put the garlic in there. So I just take that. Okay, so that's just all the vegetables are chopped. They're all put right into that pan. Now I already have the oven set at 375, and I'm going to cook these for an hour at 375, and I will probably stir them up maybe every half hour. So here's my olive oil. So really what I'm doing is I'm just going to put a bunch of olive oil because there's a lot of vegetables here and I don't want them to burn. And then we went outside. Now I just discovered what I thought all along was some lavender. Someone has told us it's actually rosemary. All this time we thought it was lavender with these purple, I don't know, I'm so confused. I still think it's lavender rosemary. Is that possible? Anyway, we also have a regular rosemary bush outside, so we have some rosemary. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to place the rosemary in there because I don't like to eat the rosemary pieces on my food, but I do like the flavor. So what will happen is when it bakes, the rosemary will just kind of dry up, and then I will smush it around a little bit, and then I'll take out the parts that are still on this stem. So then I'm going to grab a spoon. Okay, so I take my spoon and I'm really just mixing up the vegetables so that they get coated with the olive oil. That's pretty much what I'm gonna do. Right? Pretty basic so far. All we've done is chop up the vegetables, and I've got cauliflower, sweet potato, carrots, celery, and garlic. And that is what I have in there. Okay, so that is now pretty, and onions. I also put the onions in there. Okay, then I will add a little salt and pepper, which gotta have salt and pepper. So I put some salt on it. And then I put some pepper. Okay, I think I'm gonna put some pepper. Okay, so here's the pepper. Love the sound of that pepper shaker. Okay, and then I will probably just mix it up a little bit more, one more time. And you can see some of the vegetables are cut smaller, some are larger. It's really a matter of preference. I really like roasted cauliflower, so I'm good with the larger pieces. There we go. So that's it. That is it. Now I'm going to take this and put it in the oven for 60 minutes. I'm going to stir them around every 30 minutes, and if they're done sooner than 60 minutes, I'm going to take them out. And that is now my roasted vegetables, which are going to last me. Actually, we have company coming, and that's actually great because there's plenty of vegetables, and we have a potluck we're going to, so I'll probably take a bunch of them to that as well. But if I wasn't going to that potluck, you could see how this could be almost a week's worth of vegetables for me to have for lunch and dinner. So I'm going to put this over here. And I wanted to give you one more thing that I found that I just love. Now, I think I've shared with you that I really don't like taking vitamins very much, although I will take my Juice Plus if I don't get enough vegetables, or even if I do, sometimes I will take my Juice Plus because I know that it gives me all of the vegetables and the fruit servings that I need. But I found this amazing. It's called, well, of course it's backwards, but it's probiotic live shots. It's called Wild Brine, and it's Korean spicy kimchi. And what you do is it's actually a probiotic that's got a nice little punch, and I just take a swig of this throughout the day. It's like 2 shots throughout the day, and I know that I am now taking care of my gut. So I really recommend this. I got it at Costco. It comes in 2 little packets, and I hope they don't stop selling it because it's really good. So I highly recommend if you want to take probiotics because you know your gut is so important. The health of your gut is important. They've discovered more and more to many diseases. And so I am taking care of my gut with this, the simple, easy way. I really just shake it up, open it, take a swig, and twice a day, and I've got my probiotics. So that is my my day for you, day 4. So I want you to take the time to look at the habits that are preventing you from succeeding in your weight loss goals. So identify it. What time of day is it? When does it happen? What happens before? And follow through. And I will post this in below so that you'll have something that you can actually see written down about all the different steps that you can take to create a new habit and to help yourself succeed in weight loss no matter how old you are, especially if you are 60 years or approaching 60 years old. You can do this, and you have so much support out in the world, and of course I'm here to support you myself. So get your health in shape. We have the holidays coming up. We have Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, and then New Year's. So I know that we want to imagine yourself coming up in February where you have actually gotten to your weight goal. You're eating food, it's not an issue, and you're just having fun in your life. That's what I want for you. And I hope that you follow along, come back tomorrow, and we'll look at more strategies and tips to help you to stick to your weight loss goals. All right, ladies, gentlemen, bye-bye.